Well, hello and welcome to Qlik Spotlight. My name is John Sands, and this is the Qlik Spotlight on a partner of Qlik, but also the chap I'm going to speak to has a history of being with Qlik as well. So this will be quite interesting. So I'd like to welcome Sunil, Kenth, CTO of RoxAI. Welcome, Sunil, and how are you?
I'm good, thank you, John. How are you doing? It's great to be on this. Actually, it's a bit like being on the Jonathan Ross show, being interviewed.
Yes, yeah, that's quite funny because just got back from connections and there is a lot of people watching these, so it's good. But what's more important now is this focus on partners because, as I said in the introduction, you've had a recent history of being at Qlik, and
Yep.
now you're working for a partner. So this makes it even more interesting. So a lot of people will already know you because of your role in pre-sales at Qlik, but just tell me about your role at RoxAI. What's your job there?
Sure. So I'm the CTO at RoxAI. So really, my role, working with a small organization, you actually
Hmm.
wear lots of different hats. The primary role is as the CTO. It kind of splits up into two areas: the back office and the front
Right.
office. So the back office is around looking at the technology stacks that we're working with, recruiting the teams that we need to develop the solutions that we're working on at the moment, implementing the back end processes to ensure we can go from, a specification of a
Yeah.
product all the way through to development, the QA, and then the final release of it as well. And then it's the front end part of the
Hmm.
organization. So what I call the front office. The front office is all about taking the product to the market.
Yeah.
And that's all around developing a partner program, recruiting partners, enabling partners, working closely with the partners on their pipeline, and ultimately driving sales forward. So it is, a very varied
Hmm.
role, but like I say, I do wear lots of different hats within the organization.
So how long? Sorry, how many people are there at RoxAI then?
We're around about 45 people globally. So
Yeah.
we're headquartered in the UK. We have offices here in Dubai, where I'm based, and I spend most of my time in
Hmm.
Dubai. And we have an R&D hub based in Pune, which is in India, and that's where the
Ah.
majority of our people are based.
Okay. So you've got a large development team, I presume, out there that are developing product and features, etc.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. A very, very
Excellent.
strong team, very strong, capable team.
Excellent. So, I mean, I know you've going way back at Qlik when we were both in pre-sales. So those
Yeah.
pre-sales skills, from what you can say, because as you rightly said, in a smaller company, you don't have the luxury of just being focused on one thing, do you? You have to wear
Yeah.
many hats. So, how did your role at Qlik help you to do that?
Well, I think there's lots of different ways actually. I mean, there was, pre-sales at Qlik was all about understanding business
Mm.
problems and finding solutions to those business problems. And that was the core foundational part of a pre-sales role. It's around how
Yeah.
do you address business challenges and how do you demonstrate value of the solution that you're representing. And I think, working at Qlik with all the cultural values that, Qlik has, that also helped me transfer
Mm.
that across over at RoxAI as well. But then also understanding kind of where the data landscape is going. So we
Yeah.
we know where it's come from, where it comes from sort of ERP, systems where ERPs were kind of loaded with data, but then businesses suddenly realized they need to do something with that data. We moved kind of into the more static
Mm.
reporting world, and then it was around business discovery, which was a term which Qlik
Yeah.
coined. Then it moved into sort of self-service analytics, and that's really how my experience of working with Qlik has really geared me up to understand what is that data journey, where is that data coming from, and then how can that data be leveraged to be used as an asset to businesses. And I think Qlik really has provided me a really good foundation for that. And the role that I played at Qlik gave me a very sort of widespread understanding of a
Yeah.
multitude of different businesses. I think I worked with around about 250 different companies during my time at Qlik. So
Yeah. I mean
I
that,
had a
and
lot of experience working
that's
with
a
lots of
good
different
point.
industries.
Yeah, so one of the things, just go back from connections, and unfortunately you weren't there, but I know RoxAI were there,
Mm.
was that the whole data literacy and the data landscape of how big that is. I mean, and this really has, well, I hesitate to say a problem, because it's not a problem, but it has been a challenge when you're working with Qlik as well, hasn't it? To be able to deal with the amount of the sheer weight of information and data that's out there.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and it continues to grow. The data, it continues to grow, and this is, a core thing that at Roxdale, what we're trying to address. This is the business problem we're really trying to address. Is that,
Mm.
okay, fair enough, organizations have lots of data and that data is growing day by day. But, in terms of how do you ensure that users can engage with that data? And it's not just about creating a user-friendly dashboard that people can interact with and drill into. It's about, ensuring that the users get the right information at the right time. It's about ensuring that they receive the relevant information at the right time, because otherwise, quite often,
Well,
sometimes
yeah,
what
yeah.
happens is, you log into a report or even an application, and users can quite easily be overwhelmed, and that's where data literacy comes in. Data literacy is about, a part of it is about training users, helping them understand how they can interpret that data, how they can argue with that data. But, if you've got an application, and I saw this lots of times actually at Qlik,
Yeah.
customers tend to pack in lots of data in their Qlik
Yes.
applications, and you've often heard this phrase called KISS, keep it simple, stupid.
Yes, I've
and,
heard that
and
many times. Yes.
and and I think customers, they or users of dashboards, they tend to forget that, and they forget that actually the person who's using the dashboard isn't really that familiar with the data set. So you have to help them, interpret that data, and point them to the right direction of where they can start their journey with that data. And it's what we call a RoxAI, the information sent. Where does the user start their journey with that data? And we refer to that as the information sent, of where that person starts their journey with that data set.
So, explain a little bit then. You've done a little already, but about RoxAI, what they do, what their services are, and what products they produce, so people can understand the company a bit more.
Sure. So RoxAI, we're essentially a solutions development company. Now we focus on developing value-added solutions, and we have a dedicated stream of developers that are focused on creating value-added solutions for the Qlik platform. Now what we've created is what we call Ping Intelligent Alerting,
Yeah.
and that is essentially providing Qlik users the ability to proactively be notified as soon as data in their Qlik applications change.
Okay.
One of the challenges that I used to have when I was at Qlik was that, as I said, I worked with lots of different customers, but I used to love demonstrating Qlik. Drag and drop, the bubbles come up, they click together, and within minutes, data model is built and the visualizations are in front of the customers, and customers are very impressed. They're like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I can see how I can get from data to dashboard in a matter of minutes. But there was always one question that stumped me, and that was, now I know how to get from data to dashboard, how do I know when the data's changed?
Yeah.
And that was a tricky one for me to answer. And so, and that is a real challenge, because, customers now, as well as having more and more data, they're turning that data into more and more Qlik applications. And so, firstly, a user can't be expected to keep an eye on all of those applications all of the time, because there's lots of different KPIs and data, information that's in them. So they need to be proactively notified when information that they care about has changed. And actually what we're finding and what we're seeing is that this is helping organizations increase adoption of Qlik, because what's happening is that as soon as a user is notified, their inquisition kicks in, because then they want to know why this alert was triggered.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they click on the link in the alert, and it takes them directly to the Qlik application. It applies all the filters that are related to that alert, and they can continue their analysis and start to understand why that alert was triggered. And this is a journey, that we're on. We do develop other solutions as well, but in relation to Qlik,
Primarily, it's the alerting. Yeah.
Alerting something, and this is, it's moving more towards what I referred to earlier as a data engagement platform, where we cover additional use cases. So once the user, has got the alert, we now have the capability to interpret and provide a narrative to the user as to why that alert was triggered, all using natural language processing.
Nice.
And then it's all about, right, okay, now the alert has been triggered, what are you going to do about it? It's an action. That's at the back of it. So now we have, capability which allows you to create an action where you can assign somebody to do something. So you might want somebody to go and refill some shelves, or, reorder some stock. or it might be that you actually want to automate some actions, and this is what we call our RPA piece, a robotic process automation piece, where you want to automatically create a task in a
Mm.
system that could be something like Salesforce or Jira or Marketo, all based off alerts that have been triggered. So that's kind of in a
Yeah, that's a
nutshell
lot more than I
the
thought it was
platform.
actually. So that's really impressive. And is it kind of plug and play, or do you find most of the time you're delivering a solution to a customer and there's quite a lot of modifications that they want to add to it?
Well, actually, it is plug and play.
Mm.
The way we've developed the platform is that we've leveraged the Qlik APIs, and kudos to Qlik for
Mm.
developing the APIs in the way that they have. It's enabled us to create this solution. But once the customer has implemented it and has installed it, it's pretty much plug and play, and they can then
Okay.
choose which modules they want to use, whether they want to
Yeah.
have the ability to broadcast alerts to groups of people, whether they want to have the kind of the alerts to insights capability.
Mm.
These are all additional add-ons that they can choose to have.
So what kind of customer base do you have then? And is it a typical type of customer, or could it be, is it very, very different?
Yeah, well, actually, it's everywhere. It's pretty much wherever Qlik is being used. So
Yeah.
it's in every single vertical. So financial services, manufacturing, telecommunications, retail is a big user of Ping. They have lots of different use
Mm.
cases
Yeah, I can see.
over there.
Yeah.
It's pretty much wherever there is data and Qlik is being used.
Mm.
And again, it goes back to the point around what we're really trying to solve is this user adoption challenge that all BI
Of
analytics
course.
vendors
Yeah.
have. And I think if you look at some of the stats, so the G2 crowd, I think they did some research and they said, user adoption on BI analytics platforms is around 51%.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, Gartner, I think it was in a 2017 survey, said it was around 23%. So it's a real challenge that we're trying to address. It's around how do you get more people using
Mm.
platforms that they've invested in, and getting more value out of
Yeah.
the data that they have,
So
and a
so
higher
this is
return on
going to
investment.
become even more important, isn't it? Sorry, as we move to as Qlik moves to subscription and SaaS-based offerings. So,
100, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. So that's
Yeah, absolutely.
perfect opportunity
Yeah,
for you because
yeah,
stickiness is going to
yeah.
be paramount, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a key thing. I mean, I think a lot of vendors are moving towards a subscription-based model,
Mm.
and in around subscription, it's all around utilization. It's all around adoption, and organizations like Qlik has done as well. They have to invest in that. They have to invest in the right
Of
teams.
course,
A
yeah.
customer success team, but as well as investing in that, there has to be some automated ways in which users are reminded and pointed in the right direction
Yeah.
of data that they should be looking at, in order for them to become more data driven, and for them to not find out when it's too late.
Yeah,
They
yeah, yeah.
they could find out 4 days later, which means they've missed the opportunity.
Which is no good for
So
anyone, is it? No good
yeah,
for anyone. So,
exactly,
so how
exactly.
is the marketplace? I mean, you are. I mean, is most of your customer base primarily in the United Arab Emirates, or is it spread across the world? What's your marketplace looking at the moment?
Yeah, so I think, look,
Looking like?
we've done really well over the last year. We've recruited
Mm.
around about 30 partners. So we work
Oh,
with
nice.
30 partners around the world, including a couple of master resellers in the US,
Mm.
and we have a master reseller based in South Africa. So we are across the globe.
Mm.
And I think where we've had most traction is where we really started. It was in the UK, and that's because from Qlik, you're helped along quite a lot with your technology
Yeah,
partnership team, the
of
technology
course.
management team that's there, and they kind of helped us get up and running, and that was based in the UK. A large part of the team is based in Dubai, but actually
Mm.
Dubai is a very good place to be located because it's quite centrally
It
located,
is
if you
quite
like,
central, isn't it?
for
Yeah, yeah.
EMEA. You can go, and indeed even APAC. So
Mm.
so we are spread right across the world, but yeah, we do have a lot of traction in the Middle East. I think being based here definitely has its advantages. So you can kind of nip down the road and go and see a couple of customers, and that is always obviously better than
Yeah.
sort of
Getting on a
uh,
plane.
Yeah,
So
I know what you said.
that
Yeah.
within the in Dubai and within that area, do they prefer to deal with someone that is local anyway? Does that give you any plus points at all by being based in that area?
Yeah, I think it's always the case. I think if you're the vendor, I think customers
Mm.
always like to see some
Yeah, yeah.
representation from the vendor anyway. I think we're really lucky. We've got some really, great partners. I think working at Qlik gave me the opportunity to build some great
Mm.
relationships with Qlik partners, and we've carried that forward. And I think with Ping, we were able to offer, partners additional value as well. So I think, being over here, customers definitely always like to see
Mm.
the vendor and representation of the vendor. But equally, our partners are very sort of self-sufficient, and they go out and they position. They're able to support our partners, our customers,
Yeah.
very well as well.
Excellent. So, okay, a question on the recent Attunity acquisition. How, if at all, will that affect you, and will that technology be something you'd get involved with?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. We have been looking at Opportunity because, I
Mm.
mean, firstly, I'd like to say from a Qlik perspective, I think it makes absolute sense because,
Yes. Yeah.
I think it just broadens the horizons for Qlik in terms of being able to address more use cases within the data landscape. So instead of dealing with the data towards the end of the pipeline, Qlik can get involved at the
Mm.
very early stages of that pipeline, and then can start to shape that and make it more easily accessible
Yeah. Yeah.
through through the cataloging of that data. But from our perspective, obviously we're focused on data engagement,
Yeah. Of
which
course. Yeah. Yeah.
and so what we're looking at the moment is that, well, at the moment our alerts are based off data that's within the Qlik applications, but
Yeah.
can we create those alerts
That's a very
earlier
good
on?
point. Yeah. Mm.
Because one of the things that we do within Ping is around system alerts. So if a reload fails to
Mm.
load correctly,
Mm.
okay, it will let an administrator or a developer know that the application hasn't loaded. So, the users aren't going to be able to see the system. So one of the things that we're looking at with Trinity is that can we do a similar thing to let developers and ETL guys know that, there's a problem with a
Mm.
particular
You're
alert. But
almost
it's still,
cutting it off at the pass, aren't you? You're sort of getting
yeah,
in there
so
before it, then that data then goes into Qlik.
absolutely, yeah, and that's what we're looking at the moment. So it's
Fantastic.
still early days. It's still
Yeah.
things because the acquisition of Opportunity was obviously just completed. So we're still at the early days of getting exposure to the technology and seeing
Mm.
what we can do with it.
Yeah, no, over 300 people globally were at Attunity, so that's a
Yeah,
big amount of
yeah,
people then that have joined up in Qlik. So it's quite an exciting year to look forward to. So
yeah, 100%.
I'm going to move on now, and we're going to learn. I mean, I know quite a lot about you, Sunil. Some of it I would never ever say during a spotlight interview. But this is going to be this will be okay. How do you relax then? Long hard day. You've been out in the hot Dubai sun all day, and you get home, and I know you've got a family. So how do you relax?
Yeah, well, I like to spend a lot of time with the family, so
Yeah.
I take the kids out to the park, play a bit of football. I like to go for a bike ride whenever I can. I'm lucky to live by sort of a dedicated cycling track that we've
Oh,
got
nice.
in Dubai. I don't get out there as often as I like. I mean, I moved purposely closer to the cycling track so I can get out there
So you get out
more
there, you
often.
don't
But
do it now.
but yeah, it's one of those things. But so I like to cycle a lot and just relaxing. I like to just sit down, watch a box set every now and again, just to
Mm.
switch off and zone out.
Any
Yeah,
particular genre that you watch as far as box sets or anything?
pretty much anything. But I like the sort of the thrillers, the dramas. I like
Mm.
a bit of suspense. To keep you on your on the edges. So they're the things that I like to watch.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
definitely.
on that theme, name a film you've watched more than once and why.
A film that I've watched more than once and why. A film I can't think of. A box set I can think of.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah, okay.
So I watched Breaking Bad again for the second time
Funny, I'm thinking of doing the
recently.
very same thing, watching that all over again. That was an
Yeah.
amazing series, wasn't it?
Yeah, I watched it about 3 years ago,
Hmm.
and a couple of months ago I watched it again because it was on, and I thought that was a great series. I've got to watch that again. It's
Yeah.
one of those
So was
things
it
that
worth
when it,
watching twice, was it?
it was actually because it was just as gripping as it was the first
Hmm.
time, and but obviously
Even though
you
you
know
know
what's
what's going to
going on.
happen.
Yeah, it was. It was just as much fun watching it the second time around. That was great. It was
Well, I
good.
need to plan that in, schedule that in for my watching then for that. But okay, can you cook? And if so, what is your signature dish?
Can I cook? It depends on who you ask. If you ask my wife, she'll probably say no. But if you ask me, I think I could cook. I think I'm okay.
Yeah,
So my signature dish. So okay, so my signature dish. I think it used to be a roast.
right.
And I say it used to be because I've recently, well, about 9 or 10 months ago, turned vegetarian.
Oh, really? Oh,
So I
that's
don't.
something I didn't know.
Yeah, I don't cook the roast as much as my family would like me to cook it. So, but
Well, there's always a
I
nut
used to
roast,
cook a
Sunil.
mean roast. Yeah, true. I'm yet to try that. I'm yet to try the nut roast. But something that
Yeah.
we have been doing recently, and which we really enjoy love doing, is sushi. Again, it's vegetarian
Oh,
sushi, but
right. Yeah.
it's great and it's dead easy to do and it's great
Hmm.
fun. You know,
D-
so yeah,
Excellent.
so and I used to cook a mean chicken curry as well, but something
Ah,
I haven't done in a while.
not anymore. Well, just to say, my wife's children are either vegetarian or vegan, and I've got quite into eating less meat, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah,
I think we do need to think about that, but and it can be just as tasty. Although tofu, I'm still not into. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
it's
not
an
quite
acquired taste.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah, not on the
texture is a
tofu
bit
front.
funny.
So it's been a pleasure
Yeah.
speaking to you, Sunil. But one last question: 2019, what does that hold in store for yourself personally and RoxAI?
Right. So me personally, it's around developing myself further. I think
Hmm.
that the last 18 months here at RoxAI has been amazing. I think it's challenged me in ways that I could never have imagined.
That's how long you've been
Um,
there now, is it? 18 months.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
almost
amazing.
18 months, and
Hmm.
it's I've got into areas which I never thought I would have got into. So learning all about artificial intelligence and
Yeah.
natural language processing, and these are all
Oh,
technologies which are cutting edge,
yep.
but never really sort of had the opportunity to really dive into. And I think for me personally, it's actually a lot of the last 18 months has been a lot of hard work, and I
Hmm.
think I'd like to spend some of 2019 more, spending more time with the family,
Yeah.
and spending time with the kids because the kids are growing older
Of
very
course.
very quickly,
Yeah.
and that's a tricky one. And the other thing is actually spending time with my family back in the UK because I
Yeah.
don't get to spend a lot of time. Every time I do go back to the UK, it's for a business trip, and so it's in
Hmm.
and out. So that for RoxAI, it's about execution. It's about
Yep.
taking more and more products out to the market, delivering more value to customers, providing more, additional capability for partners to be able to resell, and that's really what 2019 is
Hmm.
about. It's about executing on the strategy.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, it's going to be. I think it's going to be a good year. I know we're only nearly halfway through already,
Yeah,
but a good year. And there's a lot of stuff going on in Qlik, and it's so great that you haven't completely left the Qlik fold. You're still here with RoxAI, and that's
the
really good to
the
see. And
the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, as they say.
no, it doesn't, does it? Well, thank you again, Suna. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's always great to see you and to talk to you, and thanks for getting involved in Qlik Spotlight.
Great, thanks very much, John. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Cheers.